What's worse? Being randomly attacked and losing your eyesight? Or knowing that within a few days, both your eyeballs will melt out of your skull? You gotta choose one, too. You gotta choose one. And then we take a look at a bizarre new take on the law of attraction. You guys have all probably heard about this either from Oprah or from your own life. Maybe you are Oprah. But my point is that I'm sure you guys are all aware of it. If you believe in something enough, it actually changes the universe to make it come true. But today we're going to take a look at a new spin on that. Is it possible that by combining sex magic and the law of attraction, you can truly have anything you want? Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys had an awesome weekend. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, but I have to say this is my first episode recording on my brand new laptop. And here's the thing, by looking at the screen, it looks incredibly loud. So, if it is loud, once your hearing returns, go ahead and email me. It looks louder than it used to, which is good, I guess. I can't hear it right now. It sounds louder, but not super ear-hurting loud. But let me know. This will be the new laptop. This is a gaming laptop that I've been using to play Battlefield 6 with. I got it over the summer and I'm just finally getting it set up. The old laptop kind of gave out in the last episode, like while I was recording it. So, if I need to adjust anything, let me know. Also, two more quick updates. This weekend, October 17th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we are having our Dead Rabbit Radio movie night. And the next day, October 18th at, I forgot what time, at 9 a.m. in the morning, Pacific Standard Time, that's when we'll do it. Dead Rabbit Radio movie morning for our international listeners. If you guys want to be a part of that, just join the Patreon, either paid or free membership. All links will be in the show notes below. Also, this November 7th through the 9th, I will be appearing at the Port Gamble Ghost Conference. I'll be speaking there, so if you want to come and hear me speak, or even if not to hear me, there's a lot of other great speakers, a lot of great vendors, ghost tours you can go on. There's more links below in the show notes for the Port Gamble Ghost Conference, so maybe I'll see you there. It will be a lot of fun. Okay, let's go ahead and get started here. First off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Jeez, that looks loud. Running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for one of our legacy Patreon supporters, Stephen Burrows. Woohoo! Yeah, wee-ha! Ha-ha! We're clapping. We don't see anyone walking in. We're just like clapping slower and slower because he's burrowing. He's digging. He's digging through Dead Rabbit Radio Command. We just look at the ground. We go, hey, Steven, how's it going? Steven Burrows pops out like a little mole. His little head pops out. Steven, you're going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the Patreon or the merch store or anything like that financially, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. I always feel kind of low-key bad when I make a joke about somebody's name, because I hope he's fine with that, right? Maybe no one's ever called him a mole man before. He's like, oh, I guess my name does mean digger. People make fun of my name. It's not, a big deal, right? Like, what are you going to joke about being a carpenter? Oh, I bet you're real handy. I bet you're good at something. I always feel bad when I do that. Probably should stop doing it. Stephen Burrows, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the... No, I'm going to toss you some oars. Everyone climb on board the Dead Rabbit rowboat as Stephen rows us out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command all the way out to Iran. Oh, splash. Oh, splash. Oh, splash. All the way out. I'm actually going to turn the volume down just a smidge. You're like, you could have done that 4 minutes ago, bro. Okay, let's see. Let's turn it down like a 75. Can I do that? Yeah, let's turn it down to 77. See how that works. Anyways, we're headed all the way out. to Iran. It's October 2004. So 21 years ago. Pretty fast math. I bet you guys are impressed I got that so quickly. We're headed out to Iran. Specifically, we're headed to the city of Elsam Shahir, Iran. And then we're about to meet this girl. Her name is Ameneh Bahrami. She's 26 years old. She's a college student. She's just loving life. She's doing everything that a college student does. But unfortunately, she's also attracted the attention of a crazy stalker guy. A guy named Majid Movahadi. Hey, Ameneh. Ameneh, do you want to be my girlfriend? No, go away. Ameneh. Ameneh, will you marry me? No, go away. Ameneh. Ameneh, please date me. No. That'd just be kind of inconvenient, right? That'd be kind of annoying. Constantly getting proposed to and stuff like that by a weirdo. It'd be one thing if it was like Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt could stalk people all day long. He might, actually. He has the money to. Maybe he's stalking people around the world. Maybe Brad Pitt was behind that scam. I've thought about that as a conspiracy theory. Remember that woman who got scammed? But anyways, she's not being stalked by Brad Pitt. Doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the story. She's being stalked by this Mahid guy. Mahid. Well, anyways, obviously the story's going to take a super dark turn if we're talking about it on Dead Rabbit Radio, more than the average stalker. One day, Ameneh was walking home from work when Mahid jumped out of the bushes. I don't actually know if he jumped out of the bushes, but it doesn't matter. I'm making it extra scary. He was dressed like the Grim Reaper. No, this story's horrifying enough. Mahid showed up and threw acid in Ameneh's face. Now, this is a very typical, unfortunately, it's way more common than you would want it to be. The most common, there's different variations of it, but the most common is a man is rejected by a woman, so in retaliation he throws acid in her face, i.e. if I can't have you, no man will ever want you. He throws acid in her face and it puts out both of her eyes. She's blinded in both eyes. Horrifying. Truly, truly horrifying. But what's interesting is in Iran, they have this law that is called Qisas, or Qisas, which is basically the law of retribution, meaning that you can enact the same punishment on your attacker as they gave you. If they're found guilty in a court of law, you just can't walk in their house and do it, because then you're a criminal as well. Basically, if you are blinded in an acid attack and you lose vision in both of your eyes, once Mahid was arrested and found guilty, Ameneh said, I want you to put acid in his eyes. And the legal system in Iran goes, okay, yeah, we can totally do that. So Mahid is sentenced to 20 drops of acid in each eye. So it's like, you're like, wait a second, what? That's way more horrifying. Listen, it's horrifying all the way around. But again, imagine you're walking down the street, you have both of your eyeballs, everything's going fine, and then someone threw acid in your face, you didn't expect it, and now you're blind. That's horrifying. That's horrible. Now imagine you're the attacker. You threw acid in someone's face. You're going to be convicted of it, and now you're sentenced, and they say on this day, on October 19th, so it'll be after the movie days, if you want to watch movies with us, on October 19th, you're going to be strapped to a chair, and then we're going to put 20 drops of acid in one of your eyes, and then after they're done with that eye, they're going to move to your other eyeball and put 20 drops of acid in that eye as well. There is something so much more terrifying in that version of it. Because you know exactly when it's going to happen and you know what's going to happen. And I will say this, I don't know why 20 drops. I think 3 or 4 might work. But if you're just inflicting pain, I'm sure if you're just blinding someone, you put just a little bit of acid in their eyes. Any amount of acid would be bad. But then imagine you're all counting. You're all, you're on drop 6, 7. They're like, no, that was drop number 2. You're all, and with your other eyeball, you're looking around and you see these doctors standing around you. They're getting the other eyedropper ready. There's a difference. And listen, I'm not trying to say this is necessarily a bad thing. This story takes a lot of twists and turns, but there is something more horrifying with knowing it's coming and knowing what's going to happen. But anyways, so Ameneh says, I want him to be blinded. And so the legal system goes, yeah, totally, we can do that. You had Mahmoud Salarika, he's the deputy public prosecutor of Tehran. He had this quote about this because this became a big news story back in the day. I hadn't heard of this before. But he goes, listen, quote, if this sentence is properly publicized in the media, it will stop the repetition of such incidents. Awareness of punishment has a huge deterrent effect in stopping social crimes, unquote. Because this is an issue. It's not just in Iran, but you also have it in Pakistan and India as well, that kind of region. I know, I've read articles before that in some of the bazaars, some of these shopping centers, this wasn't in Iran, but I think it was in Pakistan, maybe India. I know they're 2 completely different cultures in 2 completely different countries. I just don't remember where I read the article. Or 3 different cultures in different countries, including Iran. You could buy battery acid in a coffee can. Like, people would just sell it. It's the equivalent of selling switchblades at gas stations here in America. So it's a problem. It's a problem. And they're like, listen, we should melt this dude's eyeballs. And we should let everyone know we're going to melt this dude's eyeballs and do it. And then that way, maybe people will stop throwing acid at each other. But the international outcry over this, the barbarism of the state inflicting blindness on somebody, became a big issue. Well, anyways, Mahid is found guilty. The date of his eyeballs execution is coming up. And he's hoping that maybe all this international outcry saves his eyes. But the day comes. The day of his eyeballs getting acid poured into them. I mean, again, what would you rather it have? The sentence be 3 weeks? They're like, you're going to have your eyeballs taken out in 3 weeks? Or like 8 months? You're all trying to see as much stuff as possible. You're like, you're all looking through the little bars of your cell. You're like, oh, look, there's a pigeon. I hope I remember you, pigeon. Oh, look at the sunset. I mean, think about it. Imagine knowing you're only going to see like 18 more sunsets. It's time. And they take him into the room and they strap him down to the bed. And the doctors are getting the little vials of acid ready. And the person who's going to put the acid in his eye, this is another part about this law of retribution, is you can do it. If you're the victim and you're like that guy, well, here's the thing, like let's say your wife is killed by a maniac and he's arrested. You can say, I want to be the guy who kills him. He's found guilty. He's been sentenced to death. I, the husband, want to be the guy who kills him. They will allow that. So in this case, Ameneh, she was blind. She wasn't able to put acid in people's eyeballs. Really hesitated making a joke there. She's all dropping it on everyone's shoes. They're all, burning holes through their shoes. Oh, why didn't we wear acid-proof boots to work today? She can't do it. But her brother says, oh, I'll do it. I'll totally drop 20 drops of acid in each of his eyeballs. Why not? So he's there in the room. The acid is prepared. Everything's ready to go. And then Ameneh says, nope, cancel it. Cancel it. And she said, the reason why I called it off, because it was my right to ask for that punishment. Because they could have also just locked him up for 20 years or whatever. You have the right to call for the law of retribution. I don't know if I made that clear in the beginning. I don't think I did at all. I don't think I said that. There were options where he would just be in prison for a long time. But as the victim, you can go, no, I want him to have the same thing that I had. And she goes, I called it off because it's my right to call for the law of retribution, but it's also my right to cancel it. And the rest of the world was looking at us and thinking we were a bunch of barbarians. And I wanted to show the world that Iran is not barbaric. We were not going to put this guy's eyes out. However, she said, I want to change this. So we're not going to put his eyeballs out, but, I've become completely indignant Is that the word? Because of all this. I'm poor. Like, I had a job, I had my college, I had my whole life ahead of me. Now I'm basically subsiding off government welfare, if they have that over in Iran, or the generosity of others. She goes, I want him to financially repay me. I want him to pay me for all of my medical bills and all of my living expenses. And until I get that money, he should be in prison. His prison sentence should last as long as I'm poor, basically. He needs to financially compensate me for this damage he's done. But that doesn't happen. He is released from prison 10 years later in 2014, and her and her family never got a dime from the guy. And he got to keep his eyeballs. So this wasn't the only case. This was like the big case that came out in 2004 involving eyeballs. You're like, oh, I thought he was just going to move on to the next story. Or maybe not talk about eyeballs being ripped out. No, there's more eyeballs. Oddly enough, there's more eyeball stories involved here. That was the biggest one. But as you're researching this stuff, you come across these other stories. You had a guy in 2010. Some of this sounds overly malicious. Some of this sounds a little too much. Listen, if I was blinded, yes, I would want the person who blinded me to be blinded as well. I totally would be down with that. You took away my vision, I'm going to take away yours. Or if I can't do it because I'm blind, yeah, I think it would be dope if you could say, hey, court, take his eyeballs out and make it super clinical, right? Make it clean. I want to be able to feel with my fingers totally dry eye sockets. I'm like, ooh, nice job, guys. There's nothing eyeball related. Hear the guy screaming him while poking him in the brain, tickling him. Coochie coochie coo. He's like, the memories of my childhood, they're getting tickled away. But, so this one I thought was far more vicious. And we don't have a resolution to this one. So apparently in 2010, there was a man in Iran who was blinded with acid by another dude. The attack, they didn't give names, and this was just kind of like a little side note saying, hey, also this stuff's happened. I was like, oh my God, this is terrifying. Dude, we'll call him Brian. Brian's walking down the street. He gets blinded by another guy named Troy. And because they both live in Iran, Brian goes, oh, I want to do that whole law of retribution thing I heard about. That one woman, she decided not to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I've lost both of my eyes. I want Troy to lose both of his eyes. And the court system goes, okay, Troy's been found guilty. But there's another little step to this. So what happened was, Troy was strapped down to a table, and this didn't use acid. The doctors actually put him to sleep and then removed one of his eyeballs. So again, imagine you're just laying down to take a nap, knowing when you wake up one of your eyeballs will be missing. But the most ghoulish part of this, remember, Brian lost both of his eyeballs. Brian said, I want one of his eyeballs removed. And then he has 6 months to convince me that I should let him keep his other eyeball. And if he doesn't, if he's not able to successfully argue his case, to me, to the victim, that he deserves this other eyeball, I want that one taken out too. And they don't tell us how that was resolved. That was like a little side note when I was reading about this stuff. They're like, oh, by the way, this happened. I go, what did he decide? Did the guy make a good argument? Does Troy still have one eyeball? That's sinister. Like, I get it. Getting his eyeballs removed. You blinded a guy, you get it on you. But imagine that. Imagine you had 6 months to convince someone that you it's not like I'm just walking down the street and being like, hey, ma'am, can I bother you for a minute? Can I explain to you why I should keep an eyeball? A normal person would go, yes, you should totally keep your eyeball. I shouldn't say a normal person, but someone without a bone to pick would be like, oh yeah, of course, keep your eyeball. But the guy you blinded is like sitting there with his arms crossed and you're like looking at him. You're like, hey buddy, like please let me keep my eyeball. There's so much stuff I can still see in the world. And the dude has his arms crossed and he's like, And then you're like, no, because like at least when I have one eyeball, I can still, like, I don't know, maybe if I see a poor person, I'll give them money, right? You're trying to like sympathize. You're trying to make it sound like you're a good guy. And Brian's just sitting there and he goes, And you're like, no, at least if I have one eyeball, like what if there's a church on fire and someone has to run in and save the orphans? Well, I could do that if I have one eyeball, but if I had no eyeballs, all those kids die. And Brian has his arms crossed and he goes, You're doing that for 6 months. Maybe after month 3, you're like, give up. There's no way I'm going to be able to convince this guy. You're like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the eye out myself. And that way, he's like, I was going to let you keep it. And you're like, you blinded yourself. It actually sounds like a good setup for an Adam Sandler comedy, where you have Adam Sandler and David Spade. And Adam Sandler has both of his eyes removed. Both of his eyes removed by David Spade, and then one of David Spade's eyes is removed by the Iranian government, and then he has to convince Adam Sandler for the next 90 minutes of this movie as to why he should keep his one eyeball. This has happened quite a few times. I shouldn't say quite a few. What I found was maybe 4 or 5 other times since 2004, since the whole issue with Ameneh. And Ameneh, she looks back, I think she lives in Italy now. She looks back on this whole thing and she goes, I really, really regret not blinding that guy. I really do. Because now whenever I hear a story about someone getting attacked with acid in Iran, I think, would that have been stopped if I had carried through the sentencing? Would it have stopped? Because like I said, this has happened a couple more times. It's never made international news the way it did back in 2004, where everyone, both in Iran and outside of Iran, was aware of it. These other cases have been smaller cases. They haven't reached the publicity. Had Ameneh let her brother drop 20 drops of acid in Mahid's eyes, that may have prevented some of these future acid attacks. Maybe. Specifically in the town of Isfahan in Iran in 2014, so 10 years later. Actually, by the time the Mahid guy got out in October 2014, 25 women had acid thrown in their eyes in that town in 1 month. And that's specifically what she was referring to. She goes, there's a chance none of that would have happened had I blinded that guy. And I chose not to, but I probably should have. It's a crazy story, right? You always hear about eye for an eye, and sometimes people take it literally. No one ever talks about tooth for a tooth, because I think that's the second part of it. No one's ever like, hey, you gave me cavities, Hershey's Kisses Company, so where's the CEO? I'm going to pull out a tooth. And then you notice there's like 500,000 people walking to the Hershey CEO's house. He's like, hey, guys, I didn't invent chocolate. Also, the guy who makes Skittles, he's right over there. He's not even protected. I'm in a house. That guy's just walking down the street. Get him, guys. No, it's the Skittle guy. It's the Skittle guy. And they're like, no, we'll get him later. We just want you now. And they break in the CEO's door, the Hershey CEO's door, and everyone's carrying a pair of pliers and they're pulling his teeth out. They're like, a tooth for a tooth! He's getting all his teeth pulled out. Stephen Burrows, let's go ahead and toss you the keys to the world. Famous Carpenter Copter, we're leaving behind Iran. Why don't you fly us all the way out to San Diego, California? We're headed all the way out to San Diego, California, and we show up to this big convention center. But there's nobody there. We're like knocking on the door, we're like looking in the window, and it's completely empty. And I was like, let's just break into this convention center. I'm already going to get charged with threatening a Hershey CEO. We break the window and we climb in to the convention center, and it's completely empty. It's dark. We have our flashlights out. We're shining around. Hello? Is anyone here? Oh, man. Sure is empty. We're late. That's why it's empty. We're late. Had we shown up between September 12th and the 14th, we wouldn't have wanted to. We don't want to show up. I'm actually like, listen, I knew this was going on and I knew the dates. We showed up a month late. At this convention center in San Diego, California. Actually, I don't know if it was at a convention center. It could have been a hotel room. It could have been a ramshackle house on the edge of a bayou. I'm not for sure. But we missed the Goon conference. The Goon conference. You're like, I was wondering why the floor was so sticky. I was wondering why I was walking around my boots. The Goon conference, yes, we missed it. They had a big Goon conference in San Diego, California. Now, if you're like, what, Goon? Aren't those the bad guys from Popeye? What's a Goon? You're like, they're real? Oh my God. You're running around and you're so scared. No, well, the Goons are from Popeye, that's true. A Goon is also the name for a low-level thug, but in modern terminology, a Goon, or a Gooner, sometimes a Goonette, is somebody who worships pornography. It's not someone who watches porn. It's not someone who watches a lot of porn. It's somebody who worships it. They are the anti-monk. They'll watch it for hours a day, 6 hours, 8 hours. They worship it. They will watch brainwashing porn. They will watch porn that sole purpose is to tell you to watch more porn. Like, you'll be watching a Goon video, which... Jason, are you watching these? No. But I'm aware of the phenomenon. You'll have Goon videos that will be Goon, like it's telling you to goon. It's like all of the advertising to eat at McDonald's, if you haven't realized this, is outside the McDonald's. Once you're in the McDonald's, they don't really care. They have you. You're going to get a Filet-O-Fish or a McRib or whatever. But as you're driving by a McDonald's, there's ads all over the wall. Hey, 2-for-1 chicken sandwiches. And when you're at home, they'll show you ads for McDonald's. But when you go into the McDonald's, you're already going to order, so they don't really care. They do pump out that scent of fries. That's an artificial system. That's why you can smell McDonald's French fries from a block away. There's fans to push that scent out. That's an advertisement. It smells more like French fries outside of the McDonald's than it does when you're inside of the McDonald's. Because they don't care. You're already there. But there'll be whole videos where it's just like, do you love porn? Goon more, You're like, oh, new ringtone. New ringtone just dropped. Do you wanna watch and worship all of this porn? I mean, it's insane. There's videos telling you to just watch more porn. Because that is their lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's a religion for these people. Gooners. It's a relatively new phenomenon. I'm guessing, I'm sure it's been around longer. But the fact, originally it would just be like, this guy watches some porn, this guy watches a lot of porn, this guy doesn't even show up for work anymore. This guy does nothing but watch porn, but we didn't have a term for him, and he would just sit and watch porn for 8 to 10 hours a day, and you didn't know because he never left his house. He never left his house unless he was going to the video store. But, you know, with the internet, you have all these subcultures and people are able to talk to each other online, and they make up these terms. Gooner, which is a man, Goonette, which is a girl, and the Goon community, they worship pornography. It's one of the weirdest things. In an endless sea of weird things, the worship of porn might be one of the weirdest. Okay. Like, Jason, that's not even close to being true. Today I read an article about a restaurant in Japan where they served feces-flavored food. And before you get too excited, it shut down. It was only open for a couple of months. Right, you know, a shocker, right? There was, in Japan, this guy, he loved to taste the feces. So he didn't put poop in the food. He was very clear about that. He goes, I don't put poop in the food. As you notice, all the napkins are actually toilet paper. He goes, don't worry, there's no poop in the food, but I just made it taste like poop. And it was a hit. People were coming over. It was like more of like a performance art thing. That's why it only lasted a couple months, but people were trying it, and they're like, this is disgusting. He's like, yep, that'll be $20, please. So what did you expect? It tastes like poop. But anyways, people came and they visited this restaurant. It was run by a male porn star in Japan, and he goes, oh, I love to taste the poop myself. It's disgusting. That is not a ringtone. You cannot sample that. That is not a ringtone. He said he didn't poop in the food. He just made it taste like poop because he likes the way poop tastes. But I wouldn't trust the guy. Like, would you? Would you? Here's one thing. If someone said, ew, this is disgusting, you're at a restaurant, someone goes, ew, this is disgusting. It tastes like poop and pushes the bowl over to you. You'd be like, I don't know why you're trying to get me to eat it, but if you had to, you would go, yeah, that's right, this does taste like poop. Like, yo, can I have a doggy bag? You're secretly the poop-loving porn star. But if a guy loved the taste of poop, and he opened up a poop-flavored restaurant, and he was always in the kitchen, and the food did taste suspiciously accurate, it did taste exactly like poop, I wouldn't believe him if he said he didn't poop in it. I would not believe him at all. But anyway, so there's all sorts of weird stuff. I can't say Gooners are the weirdest, but it's a religion. Now, what happens when you combine the ideology of Gooners with the law of attraction? If you made a statement to me like that, I'd be like, well, I mean, they're kind of, I guess they can kind of go together, but they seem awfully unrelated. Gooners just want to watch porn. It's the freest thing out there. You're like, yeah, I guess. But the weird thing is the Gooners, they don't even want sex. They don't want sex. They don't want to have sex. It's not like, you're not watching porn for a release. You're watching porn to watch porn. It's not like you're like, Susie Q dumped me tonight. I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, I guess I'll just watch some porn. And then maybe I'll get another girlfriend tomorrow. So you're sitting there and you're like looking around for porn. Your end goal is to get another girlfriend. You're just watching porn because you're bored or because you're like, you need a release. But the Gooner wants nothing. All they want is more porn, and it's totally free. So what would they use the law of attraction for? It didn't really make sense to me, but I found this posted on the X board. Very, very fascinating. Because I am an avid believer in the law of attraction. I have watched it change my life over the years that I was first really looking into it. 8 years ago was the first time I actually stopped and began reading about it. My life's completely different than it was back then. You got to work hard, but you put the law of attraction on top of that. That's what I really feel has made this show so successful, and that's why I have so much gratitude for the law of attraction, right? Because I know that it's changed my life. This show has been highly successful. It's changed my life. And that's why I share it with you guys. Now, whether or not you guys want to do it, that's totally fine. But I know it works. But I'm always interested in hearing the new ways of how the law of attraction works, because that is a big question. Why doesn't it work for everybody? Why hasn't it worked for you? Because I get emails about this. People go, hey, it's not working for me. It's not working for me. There's a lot of different answers. But one of the interesting things is finding new ways to get it to work. Now, I will say what I'm about to tell you is very, very bizarre. And I personally would hold off on doing any of this until the end of the segment. Actually, I would find it very polite if you waited till the end of this segment to do anything. But I have something at the ending that, may change your mind on it. Let's go ahead and get started with this. So there is a guy posting on the X board. Was it on the X board? Yeah, I think it was originally posted on another part of the web, but it was moved to the X board. Someone had copied it. And this is from a guy who goes by the name P. King. And he says, the first step, he goes, I know how the law of attraction will work 100% of the time. You'll get anything you want. You just have to follow these steps. 1. Goon. You're like, wait, what? You're like, that's why he was talking about the gooning convention. This guy says the first thing you got to do to make sure the law of attraction works every single time is goon. Watch a ton of pornography. Now, I am not saying that is great. I'm not saying that is good. And I'm also saying, if you are going to do this, wait till this episode's over. But he goes, it's very, very interesting. You're like, that's one way to put it, Jason. He goes, you have to goon, but do not goon to videos with men in them. Only solo women. So at that point, it doesn't even have to be porn. You could just be watching like Victoria's Secret shows or like Sports Illustrated swimsuit model videos. But you're gooning while you're doing it. So you're not just like sitting there eating chips out of a bag. You're like, this isn't so bad. I wanted a bag of chips and they appeared. They were in my cupboard. Sure, I bought them, but here they are in my lap. you're pleasuring yourself while you are watching just women, no men. And this is the reason why he goes, you got to understand that a man is an absorber of all energy. If you're watching a video with a man and a woman in it, and you try to do this ritual, the male porn star will begin to absorb your energy, and it won't work. You watch this porn, and the guy's all, his eyes are glowing red. What's happening? Stop the filming, stop the filming. He's getting all this energy. So he goes, you can't do it if there's a man in the scene. You can only goon and to have this law of attraction thing work if it's just a woman, not even 2 women or 3 women, just one. He says male energy, this is an exact quote, male energy does not share. It is completely ego-focused. Let's imagine you're watching a video and it's a beautiful woman. It's Barbara Palvin or Kate Upton. They're not porn stars. They're just walking around in bikinis and stuff like that. And you're starting to goon. You're starting to pleasure yourself. Okay. Step 2. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot. There's multiple steps to this. You just already started watching the swimsuit video. No, wait. Step 2. You need to goon, but also don't think about the finish line. Don't think about, okay, I got 10 minutes before work starts, so I'm going to goon real quick. You're all driving through traffic. You're all, luckily, I'm sexually aroused by car crashes. No, let's say you're sitting there and you're like, okay, my wife gets home from work in about 20 minutes. I got 20 minutes to goon. Right? Set a little timer. Don't focus on finishing. Do not focus on finishing. You're going to focus on the distance. Pete King says what you should be doing while you're watching this video, you should be focused on trying to last as long as possible. Not as long as possible, but a while. He says 30 minutes to an hour is the sweet spot. You're like, clear the calendar. Secretary, hold my calls. That's a long time. So you're gooning. 30 minutes to an hour, and you want to stay focused. You're watching this solo video, you're pleasuring yourself, and this is the next big step. So now you've been doing it for 30 minutes to an hour, your hand hurts, you got ice on your wrist, you're like, okay, time to swap out lefty, let's go. After about a half an hour to an hour, which still boggles my mind, you're going to start to get ready. You're like, thankfully, thought I was going to get a blood clot. I've been sitting here for so long. The only thing that's been moving is one arm. The rest of your body's motionless. You're like, I might need to get up and walk around. Both your legs are asleep. Anyways, he goes, you've been doing this for 30 minutes to an hour. Do not climax. Yet. You'll be able to, but don't try to right now, because now you're in that sweet spot of 30 minutes to an hour. You've been focused on this porn, or not porn, right? Again, just beautiful women walking around in bikinis or lingerie. You can do that. At this point, right, you've been building up this entire time. You've been watching Kate Upton walk around in a bathing suit for 30 minutes, which that is a good use of your time. But anyways, you've been watching it for 30 minutes. You've been watching all of these clips of beautiful Kate Upton walking around. Now you're ready to climax, but don't. This is where all of a sudden you're going to shift consciousness in a way. You got to visualize what you want. So for example, let's say that you want to be financially wealthy. You want to have a lot of money. You're near climax. You need to visualize yourself in a moment that to you symbolizes wealth. It should be first person. It shouldn't be you watching yourself or imagining yourself in a situation. You want it to get it as real as possible, where it's you at first person. For example, let's say you want to imagine yourself very wealthy. You're about to climax. Then you're sitting at a table, you're sitting at a table in a fancy restaurant that overlooks Paris. And you look out and you see the Eiffel Tower out in the distance. The night sky is full of stars. It's a fancy place, so it doesn't have those paper napkins. It actually has like the cloth napkins. Tablecloth on the table. I mean, real fancy. Real fancy place. The silverware is heavy, and you're sitting there, and there's a plate of delicious food. Feces flavored, of course, but that's what rich people eat. You're sitting there and you see the big plate of food that's been freshly delivered to you. You feel how soft the tablecloth is. There's even like a little votive candle in the middle of the table. A fancy place. And you pick up your knife and your fork and you're getting ready to chow down. Like that level of visualization. You see yourself in a fancy restaurant and you're not going, oh no, how am I supposed to pay for all of this stuff? I didn't know this was a cloth napkin joint. Oh man. No, you imagine yourself not wondering if there's any money on your credit card for this. You're not wondering, oh no, how am I going to get back to my native country? What am I doing here? Was I taken? Is Liam Neeson going to save me? No, you visualize yourself as it 100% has already happened. You're almost not visualizing the future. You have to look at it this way. You're remembering the past. You remember the past. You go, I remember that one time I went to that really fancy restaurant in France. Had the really nice napkins and the tablecloth, the little candle. A beautiful place. I looked out over the Eiffel Tower at night. I'm thinking about going back there. I'll probably go back there. You visualize yourself in the moment. You visualize it as a memory, not as something that may happen, but something that has happened. You are there. But you're not done with this ritual. You've built up all this sexual energy inside of you, and you've kept it kind of boiling, like a witch's cauldron, but one that actually works. And then you built up all the sexual energy, you shift into the law of attraction mode where you visualize something that has already happened, not going to happen, but has already happened. You visualize a memory that is as liminal, as detailed, as lived in as you possibly can. You move through that memory. You move through that visualization. You're still gooning, by the way. Then the last step is visualize a red cube. Doesn't have to be fancy. Doesn't have to be ornate. Doesn't have to be something you remember from a movie. Something you've seen in real life. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be small. Just visualize a red cube. And then at that point, all of the sexual energy you've built up inside of you, you focus going into the red cube. This past half hour to an hour, this energy you've been building up, visualize it. The sexual energy, not all of your energy. You're all stop breathing. You're all the sexual energy you've built up. Visualize it. Well, not even just visualize it. You are metaphysically, psychically sending that sex energy directly into the red cube. Your neighbors are like, damn it, is he gooning again? But then all your psychic sexual energy is shooting out of your body into this red cube. Peking goes, really, whether or not you climax is irrelevant. You don't have to. But you do have to send all of your sexual energy into this red cube. He says, quote, just raise your sexual energy, condense it, send it to the cube, unquote. Peking goes, this method is 100% accurate. It has never, ever failed. No side effects. And he goes, listen. A lot of people who try to do these rituals, they've already looked into other things. Like, this is beyond just law of attraction. This is a ritual added to it. He goes, I'm going to tell you something. This is way safer than a lot of you guys. I'm not you guys, but he's talking to his audience. A lot of you guys are talking about, like, summoning demons and trying to make these pacts with the devil to get what you want. He goes, this is foolproof and it's safe. There is no demonic entities involved in this whatsoever. And you also don't have to worry about any sort of karmic backlash either. So it's foolproof, the effects are permanent, he says, and there's no side effects. Now, what's interesting is, first off, the ritual itself is very interesting. But he says about the red cube, right? Because that's the big question. The law of attraction, pretty much everything that they've stated up to the red cube, would work. I've never tried gooning and law of attraction before. Let me say I've never tried gooning either. But the two combined, that's an interesting pair. The law of attraction part itself should work, but I understand where he's coming from by building up the sexual energy. You are focusing a very disposable part of your energy. You don't want to give a bunch of your psychic energy away. You don't want to make a deal with the devil or pay with your soul, obviously, either. But you have your mental energy. You have all this other type of energy inside of you. The sexual one is honestly the most easily replenished. And it's very disposable. It's kind of built to be disposable. Everything he says makes sense except for the red cube. That's what really makes me hesitant about this whole thing. I did want to share it with you. The question is, why the red cube? What does it mean? Well, he said this, quote, "The final step is to visualize a red cube. This is the key. And I won't explain why, because it took me several years of studying esoteric books and ancient mathematics to get this knowledge," unquote. So, the cube gives me pause. The red cube does give me pause. Because yes, we're not invoking any sort of demonic entity, but we'd be taking it on faith that this guy who posted this online, anonymously, I mean, he uses a username, but he's telling us to send all of our sexual energy into a red cube. I don't think it's a demonic trick, but I don't know if it is not a trick at all. Are we sending it to him? Like, there's a red cube typing stuff, it's all clickety clack click. It gives me pause. The fact that he will not say why a red cube, only that it is key, it gives me pause. On the flip side, though, I will say this. This happens all the time. He posts exactly what the red cube is, and then instead of people talking about the ritual, it's all about debating his mathematics, or all about like, no, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I can see situations where you wouldn't want to go into detail as to what the red cube is, because people will attack it. People will try to break it down. I understand that. Like if you said, well, the red cube, I got it because of this ancient Sumerian text that mentioned this, and then I found it was also mentioned in this Aztec myth and so on and so forth. People go, what? No way. The Aztecs, they didn't have the cube. They had this. Da-da-da-da. It's kind of a minor point, but as someone who discusses this type of, not gooning, but as someone who discusses supernatural, paranormal, or esoteric things online or in real life, it's funny the little things people will glom onto to try to tear the whole thing down. But it could be bad too, though. I mean, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's probably had a million different arguments over the source of this red cube's power. But maybe it's a trap. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I can see reasons why you wouldn't want to mention it, because it might take too long to explain. But I could also see how you could set up some sort of trap or some sort of energy bank for yourself to leech off of. He claims that it has led him to financial wealth, and he said, I've been able to predict big swings in the crypto market. It's allowed me to become very wealthy. I've shared these tips before. People say that I'm a shill. People say that I'm a fake. I'm right. The cost goes up or it goes down and I buy low, whatever. I always get called a shill no matter what I say. So I've really kind of stopped sharing that stuff. He said he has a YouTube channel where he shares financial advice now, but he didn't put a link in that. Obviously. Right? Because if you went to this YouTube channel and the guy has 60,000, 80,000, however many subscribers, and he's talking about, oh, the Dow Jones is up and the Nasdaq's down or whatever, people are just going to be like, yo, what's the red cube? What's the red cube? Gooner King? Gooner King for life. He obviously wants to keep these two things separate. So he has this life, the sharing the law of attraction ritual, and then his YouTube life, and then his personal life. I'm sure they don't know he does this either. Here's the thing, I don't know whether or not any of this works. It's very, very interesting take on it. I could see how it would work. I'm just very suspicious about that red cube. And a couple of people who responded to this post said the same thing. They said, do not do this. Do not do this. This red cube is probably linked to Peking himself, and you're sending the sexual energy there, and he's absorbing it. I mean, I guess that's possible. The red cube that I would visualize would be different than the red cube you would visualize, which would be different than the red cube anyone would visualize. But again, like, I don't know. That's what's so interesting about this. I love law of attraction stuff. I love weird law of attraction stuff. This one, I think, is going to go in the record books because at the end of the day, I don't know. There's parts of it that seem like it would work. The red cube makes me very nervous to suggest to any of you guys to try it. But it might. We just don't know what the cube is. You go, well, Jason, you do law of attraction all the time. Do you visualize a red cube? No, I don't. But here's the thing. Law of attraction can take a couple years for it to take work. Sometimes it takes weeks. But sometimes it takes longer. And I wonder if this actually is accurate. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll investigate a ghost. I'll go, break into a haunted house. But this one's a little bit more like if it's something wrong. Here's the interesting thing, too. What if it works and you got 100% of what you wanted and it's not, there's no side effects, there's no side effects, there's no downside, but this random dude is getting some of your sexual energy? Would you be fine with that? Again, it's not like he can use it against you or anything, but you're just giving it to this dude psychically. Would you be okay with that? You still get everything you want. And it's not like at the end of the road when you die, you're floating around in heaven and they're like, what happened to your legs? And you look down and you go, no! Because you gave so much of your sexual energy away, it like gave you Casper legs. And then when that guy dies, he's nothing but legs. He's this big rolling ball of legs. Again, it was interesting in the comments, people weren't really questioning whether or not it worked. They were asking some interesting questions. The whole idea of the male porn actor absorbing your energy. He goes, what if it's a dead male porn actor? Like, where does that energy go then? That's an interesting question. Peking didn't respond to that one. And that's what I mean. Sometimes people ask questions that, while they are interesting, they're so off base as to whether or not this works, but it's still a valid question. What would happen in that case? But really, I think the guy was asking not because of any sort of reasoning as far as the psychic realm. I think it was because he wanted to watch porn with guys and girls. So he was trying to figure out, well, what if I watched porn, but it was just of dead men? Not that type of porn, but what if I watched porn where the male actor has died? I guess if you're that desperate to goon to anything but just a woman, sure there's a long list of actors who have died who are having sex with women who are still alive. There's no way you can say that sentence without it sounding 100 times worse. But you know what I mean? You're watching a video and it's Jenna Jameson being banged by Roy Stokes, some porn actor from the 1950s. I don't know if that's a real guy. You all Google him. You're like, what? That's the CEO of Hershey's. He's also a porn star. I don't know. I just pulled that name out of thin air. I guess that exists. You're just watching grandpa porn. But anyways, fascinating law of attraction. I don't know if I would recommend people doing it, but I also am curious as to whether or not it works. So, I present it to you. I have it all listed out here. You can use your best judgment over whether or not you want to try it. But it really might work. I think because listen there, I do think as sexual energy, as it's the most disposable and the most replenishable, I think we waste a lot of it. I really think we waste a lot of it. And I could see it as supercharging. There's a lot of magic systems that do involve sex magic and using that sex energy. And most of the time we just kind of waste it. So I do think it could work. I do think it could work. The red cube really gives me pause. But I wanted to share that with you. I don't know if any of you guys are going to do it. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily want to say, if you do it, let me know, because then I might one day get an email and I was like, who emailed me this link of this 8-hour-long video? I was like, huh? What's this? And I click on it. It's all goon, 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 goon for life, 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 goon. I'm all hypnotized. I'm all, strobe lights. You love porn, don't you? Dun, dun, dun. Done eating food sometimes. I'm like, oh, what? This is gonna make me lose weight. This is what happens when you do improv. I don't know what the next line of the song's gonna be either. Dun 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 dun. Porn lover. Dun 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 dun. You know you want it. Dun dun dun. Food make. I'm like, huh? Is this trying to make me lose weight or get addicted to porn? I don't know who sent me this video. Dun 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 dun. Goon lover. So yeah, I'm going to be leery of any videos or links I get from now into the future. I won't know if you tried this ritual and you got everything that you wanted and you're like, I got to share proof. I got to share proof with Jason. I got to share proof with the world. But they also got a goon. They got a goon. So you send me that link and I click on it. I'm all, dun, 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 goon lover. Dun, 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 you know you want it. Dun, Goon lover, food sometimes. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be your email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is at Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.